Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I am filming this just after 7 a.m., April 16th, Wednesday, so we are going to be looking at largely Thursday. A couple rounds of severe weather possible, and still looking into those risks. The latest updates as of this morning posted, and then we'll talk about kind of breaking down each of those risks, the timing of these storms, and what we can expect, because there are a lot of moving parts. As you can imagine, one round of severe weather would affect the next, especially the same day. So talk about some of those things. We'll look into what I think is one of the better versions in showing some of the possibilities of these storms, and then again kind of get into some of the details. But here's your forecast over the next couple of days. We've seen some more smoke move into eastern Nebraska because just like clockwork at this time of the year, you get prescribed burns in Kansas, brings a little more smoke into the area, and we're seeing that with air quality around the unhealthy for sensitive groups and unhealthy categories. But again, this video is going to focus on the severe weather threat on Thursday. We do get warmer Thursday, and then a risk for severe weather possible in the morning and again by the evening. So first we're going to look at Stormcast, kind of show you the timing of this. I think the first round is a window of about 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. So we're going to be watching that. The second round is more of a window from 5 to 10 o'clock in the evening Thursday. So this is all April 17th, 2025. You'll see today's pretty quiet, and then we're building up to this setup. A low pressure system and a warm front bringing in first some storms trying to form in south central Nebraska, pushing into southeast Nebraska, all before sunrise. There you see it. Maybe a storm or two severe in this before sunrise, before about 6, 7 o'clock, and then they move out to the east. Marginally severe, primary threat would be hail. We'll look into that. But then you'll see this model is showing sunshine making it through. These are just thin level clouds that sunshine should be able to get through, so that would warm us up, help us recover from the morning round if it doesn't linger over some of this area. And then it'll be more of the cold front that'll be focused for another round of severe weather possible the second part of the day on Thursday. If this round can get going, severe weather would be likely. These storms would intensify rather quickly. They could be long-tracked in terms of hail being the primary threat. But there is questions whether this round forms altogether. I'll show you what models do show those storms popping up and how they could look. But there are models that don't have the storms forming until about the Missouri River, if not further east into Iowa, so we miss it altogether. Or, well, basically that is what's happening. But the reasons behind that is either the cold front's moving through quicker, or the cap is too much for these storms to overcome. Kind of the warmer air aloft can limit what storm potential we have, but if storms can manage to break through the cap, they intensify rather quickly, which is a setup like the one we're seeing. So there's the cold front. I stop it at 3 o'clock because it is basically at this point forward into the evening hours. We are watching for storms around the cold front where it sets up through eastern Nebraska, back through south central Nebraska as well, for a second round of potentially stronger storms than what would happen through the morning. So here is a version of Stormcast that does show these storms popping up in southeast Nebraska, ahead of the front and around along the front. They're up toward Columbus, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening hours. These will last, and you can see they are kind of tracking eastward through Columbus, the Platte River toward Omaha, and then just south of Lincoln with this model. But again, watching for storms throughout eastern Nebraska before they're moving on east toward Iowa, 9, 10 o'clock. So with the first morning round, your overall risk for severe weather looks like this. It's a marginal level 1 out of 5 risk that extends from Lincoln down through western portions of Missouri, Kansas, Wichita, back through northern portions of Oklahoma. A level 1 risk means maybe we see a few storms that'll be marginally severe, mainly threatening an inch of hail in diameter. Maybe some gusty winds that would be likely sub-severe, 40 plus mile an hour or so for Thursday morning. Again, the window being about 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And that marginal risk is being driven by, errors are getting out of hand. There we go. A hail threat. The wind threat rather low. Tornadoes unlikely. Flooding unlikely. Then we move to the second risk of the day for the evening time frame, and you've got a marginal risk and a slight risk. Level 2 out of 5 risk for some severe storms and some scattered severe storms. It starts back here toward about Kearney and then fans out over eastern Nebraska into Iowa, northern Missouri, southern Minnesota. With this round, can't rule out tornadoes, a lower end threat if these storms can be lower based. There is some indication that these could be elevated storms, which we're primarily watching for hail with this second event too, but large to very large hail. These black hash marks would be 2-inch hail, if not slightly bigger. So that possibility around Grand Island, fanning out to the east, includes about Beatrice, Lincoln, Omaha, and then into Iowa. Maybe a good night to try and keep the car in the garage if you can. Damaging winds would also be a threat, kind of some gusty winds that may be around 50 miles per hour, if not a little bit greater. So not as high of a chance for that. Threat assessment here for the second round. The slight risk is mainly being driven by the hail threat. Lesser threat of wind, lesser threat of tornadoes, but can't rule them out. Again, that time frame 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Thursday evening. What I haven't included in here, which might be handy to include sometimes, is going over the risks for severe weather. I can show you these colors all day, but what do they mean? Again, Thursday morning, we've got a marginal risk, that green color, meaning isolated severe storms will be possible. They're pretty limited in coverage or intensity. But then we move into the slight, that yellow category, as a potential for later in the day. If storms can pop, they would likely be severe pretty quickly. But there is some uncertainty with that. I think there's been some questions I've seen over whether this would be upgraded to an enhanced risk, and it hasn't happened with the morning update. I think we'll get another one toward 8 a.m., and I'll update some social media posts and some web articles if that's the case. But the scattered severe storms and the slight risk, a little more uncertainty. We could still get a watch, but these are still short-lived, not as widespread. There could be some long track storms from what I'm seeing with this, so isolated intense storms could be possible with that yellow risk. Kind of breaking down some of the threats. And then after this, we get cooler behind that cold front. Friday looks like a cooler, cloudier day. And then more rain chances, rain becoming likely Easter Sunday, maybe impacting some Easter egg hunts before rain chances continue into next week for the final full week of April. Like and subscribe. We'll try to continue to post updates if necessary tomorrow morning, but tomorrow morning I think it's going to be more of watching what's happening with the morning round into the afternoon round. If I have time, maybe posting a YouTube update for Thursday late morning, but we'll see with that. So just kind of a day to stay weather aware for tomorrow. Again, conditionally watching for some of those storms. The morning round would affect the afternoon round, so watching for all of those things and making sure we're all weather aware for the severe threats both Thursday morning and Thursday evening.